So many people out there struggle with depression, and oftentimes people don't get help for it. Sometimes a medical doctor can help diagnose the causes of your depression, but oftentimes it takes a psychiatrist to figure that out. So for this episode of Stacy Links Presents, I'm going to talk about my depression journey over the last year and a half. When I come back. Alright, so welcome to my channel. I'm Stacy, and in this episode I'm going to talk about my depression journey over the last year and a half. I'm going to talk about all the medications that I've tried taking, what I'm currently taking, and I'll talk about all the struggles that I've had to go through during that time. But before I get started, what I'll get you to do if you're new to this channel and if you're a transgender person, a member of the LGBTQIA+ community, or otherwise just an ally, make sure you go down below in this video and hit that subscribe button. And make sure to hit the little bell too to be notified when I have new content coming up. I have playlists with videos on my makeup routines, tips and tricks, fashion, jewelry, and product reviews you would love to see. Plus, I'm doing advocacy for the LGBTQIA+ community and documenting my transition as a solo parent. Also, make sure if you're not following me on social media, check the links in the description below for all my social media accounts and go follow me on there. So just to dive into it here, what really triggered my depression to become so severe was certain events that happened in the fall of 2023. Right after we moved into this house, a lot of issues started happening. I had issues with my car happen multiple times. Then I had my health issues happen. And then with Megan's stress and her anxiety were causing her health issues, having a plan for her to go back to Virginia and all the emotions that created during that time. All right, so then at the beginning of December, I got in to see a new GP. So now I've got an actual doctor after not having one in Regina for about 16 years. He first tried prescribing me the drug duloxetine. And this was supposed to be an SSRI that could also treat the nerve pain that I've been going through from my sciatic nerve issues. This drug had so many side effects with me. Like I had daytime drowsiness, frequent urination, extreme dry mouth, among others. So then in January, when I followed up with my GP, I asked him to put me on amitriptyline. Now amitriptyline is another SSRI that also can treat nerve pain. And this was kind of a benefit because it helped when I was in physiotherapy, because the physiotherapist said that all SSRIs can usually counteract the therapy except amitriptyline. In order for it to be effective enough, I needed to be on a higher dose, but over the course of the first 4 months being on amitriptyline, I ended up gaining 40 pounds. What ended up happening is amitriptyline has the ability to increase your appetite, and the higher the dose, the higher the appetite increase. And also with my inactivity during that time, having the nerve pain to deal with and not being able to walk or move very much, it was very difficult, and I'm still having to deal with that weight sitting at about 200 pounds. So then in June of 2024, right before I started my work contract, I went back to see my GP, and we talked about me getting in to see a psychiatrist to figure out which would probably be the best SSRI for me to be on. And then I was expected to eventually cut back on my amitriptyline to the point where I could easily switch to a new SSRI without any adverse effects. All right, so fast forward to December. I had just finished my work contract, and at that point I was able to reduce my amitriptyline dose down to 50 milligrams. I went to follow up with my GP because I hadn't heard anything from a psychiatrist. I found out from him that he was trying to look for a psychiatrist who specialized in trans therapy. The first person he tried to refer me to said that their caseload was too full, and then they referred him to another person. The second person he reached out to said, I'm actually the last line of defense because I'm the head of the department. Try this guy instead. He can probably do that. So when I went to see him in December, he brought up the name, and then we had to go online to find his phone number because he's a new doctor to the province and he did not come up on SaskHealth's phone registry. So my doctor had to do a Google search to find out which clinic he's at and find their fax number to send the referral to. Alright, so January 2025 rolls around and I get a phone call from the clinic where the psychiatrist is at that I've been referred to. They had originally scheduled the appointment for the 16th, but then days before the appointment, they called and said that they had to reschedule it to the 22nd. So then I go in to see him, and we're spending an hour, we're chatting about everything that you would talk to a psychiatrist about. And he prescribes me the drug sertraline. It's also known by its Pfizer name, Zoloft. So then in February, I had my first follow-up with the psychiatrist, and at that point, we immediately moved my sertraline prescription up to 100 milligrams. The thing with it, though, is I had troubles getting him to get the prescription sent because for some reason, the fax didn't send properly. And it was coming up as sent on the clinic side, but the pharmacy hadn't received the fax. So I had another follow-up in March to get that corrected, but in the meantime, I just had them release the last 2 fills of the 50 milligrams that I was taking and just took 2 of those a day until I saw him again in March. It took a literal 6 weeks for it to fully kick in at 100 milligrams, and I think that I still need to move up again. So then the biggest event that happened in March that was the mood killer is I had a run-in with a bitch that turned out to be a narcissist. I thought that this person was going to be a genuine person, and she was trying to love up on me a lot, and I realized that she was love bombing me, trying to emotionally manipulate me into falling in love with her. But when she revealed her true colors as a scammer, I called her out on it. After that, she started emailing me with threats against me and my daughter. And I just kept telling her, you got nothing on me. You got nothing on me. I got more on you than you think. I saved the email thread. I was planning to report it to the police, but I held off on it. It's been since March, I guess, a couple months now. So, but I'm just not too worried about it. Nothing has come about it. My social media is still growing. My kid and I are both safe. But I called her bluff on that and just blocked her on all social medias that I found her on. Facebook is where we met, but TikTok, she found me on there. I gave her my TikTok link, so I had to block that. So, but yeah, it caused a whole shitload of emotional turmoil and kind of leads into what happened in April. So at about the end of March, I was starting to feel pretty good, and I was starting to do more walking, and I was starting to push myself a little bit more to get stuff done. About the beginning of April, I started having a massive flare-up of my sciatic nerve issues. I was having shooting pains going straight down my leg from my hip all the way to my ankle. And for the first week and some, I couldn't stand properly. I was literally hunched over because from the bitch from last month, she had put me in such a depressive stupor that for like the second last week, I was literally hunched over in depression. And then I tried to pull myself up. I went for a walk. I did 6 laps around the mall that I've been going to, and I did it without stopping. And I was trying to do what the back specialist told me to do that I saw in March. I saw him again here recently. But point of the matter is all of this stuff has contributed to this nerve pain that I've been having. And I was incapacitated for the first 2 weeks of April. not being able to leave my house for any length of time without excruciating pain. So I had to have a lot of stuff delivered, so it cost me a little bit extra, and I basically run myself out of money at this point. So then at some point too during the month, I discovered that it was the NSAIDs combined with the SSRI antidepressants I had been taking that was causing bleeding to come out my rectum. Yes, for about the last year and some, I've been experiencing rectal bleeding, and I had no idea what was causing it, and I was thinking about getting it checked out. But then I was talking with my psychiatrist and I was mentioning it to him, and he was like, yeah, that can cause it. It's pretty rare. He said, I'd like you to talk to the surgeon who does the colonoscopies. And I've had both my GP and my HRT doctor wanting to be on this report because all three of them want to make sure that there's nothing going on there. They all need to know if I have surgery, any surgical procedures that I have, like a colonoscopy is considered a surgical procedure. So there was that. So, and then third week in April, I came down with laryngitis. I'm just on the tail end of it now. Basically, I just have a little bit of residual distortion and phlegm buildup. I just need to stretch my vocals again now, but the laryngitis is pretty much cleared up. And then not long after that, I had a falling out with somebody who I thought was going to be a good friend, but turned out to be a narcissist instead. She had been love bombing me basically since about February and basically wanting to get into my life. And I had also discovered that she had been stealing my energy throughout the month of March, and that was another reason why I'd been so depressed during that time. Well, and then right before the end of the month, I had the call with the surgeon who would do the colonoscopies, and after talking to him for about 10 or 15 minutes, he says to me, I don't want to alarm you or make you too worried, but I think you might have hemorrhoids internally. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine. I'm fine with that. I told him I've had hemorrhoids externally before. He said, yeah, so basically what it is the SSRIs and the NSAIDs don't normally cause that kind of bleeding. They can in circumstance, like if you have a polyp or a fissure or hemorrhoids. He said the SSRIs and the NSAIDs are just aggravating the hemorrhoids, making them bleed. He told me to start taking fiber at least once a day, and 4 to 6 weeks they should clear up. And if they don't, he says, then that means that they're really bad and that I need to take a drug called Vinixa, and that would clear them up in 10 days. But if that does not clear up the bleeding, then they have to do a colonoscopy to see if there are any fissures, polyps, or possible cancer. All right, so coming into May now, so I've been trying to take the fiber every day. I have missed one day, but I have been trying to choke it down the best I can. I got the unflavored kind, so basically if I don't drink it fast enough, it tastes like I'm drinking a wheat field. So, but I need to continue taking naproxen to help with my sciatic nerve and hip swelling, because that's all that it is. It's just joint swelling and inflammation. So putting ice on it helps. Using like Voltaren cream helps. But I need to be able to take naproxen safely and not end up bleeding a whole bunch like I used to. Because I feel like when I follow up with my psychiatrist next, I need to move up to 200 milligrams of the sertraline right away. And he doesn't want me to move up until he knows what's causing this bleeding. Because, yeah, but I have made sure to include him on the report. So all three of my doctors are included in the report from the surgeon. So the call that we had will be on each of my doctor's computers essentially. So, but I'm hoping to have good news for my psychiatrist. My next follow-up isn't until the 22nd. So that gives a little bit more time for me to continue taking fiber, and hopefully it works its way through so I don't have as much bleeding anytime I take naproxen. Because yeah, every time I take it, I do have some bleeding. So once I get to the point where there's no bleeding, then I'll be happy. But if this just continues to be a thing, then I'm gonna have to get the colonoscopy done. Tentatively, I have it scheduled for June 9th. So we'll see how things are at that point. But depression journey will continue. So we'll just see how things go from here. Alright, so thanks for watching. Make sure you smash that thumbs up button down below and drop a comment if you're going through your own depression journey. Talk about what drugs you're on, what your dose level is, how long you've been on them, and how effective you feel they are. And if you're going through a depression journey and you're not on medication, reach out and get community, because this is a big thing that people always overlook. So make sure you're sticking around here, make sure you're subscribing to my channel, and we'll see you next time. Bye!